Hey, good morning. Let's go over today's trade plan. So in the overnight session, we saw a continuation of the strong upside move from yesterday, and the market tested the 43 to 45 half resistance, which continues to be intact and is still an area where sell side can be active. Now the zone has already been tested and we have already seen a response in the overnight session, but we would have to see some pretty decent upside momentum in order for the market to break out above 43 to 45 half. The larger time frame bias continues to be bearish, and on the smaller time frames our bias at this point is going to be neutral. So it doesn't mean that the market has to fail at the 43 to 45 half, but that is a valid and active area of resistance until broken. In the event of a breakout above 43 to 45 half, it would just confirm the short-term strength in the market and bring the 50 quarter to 52 half zone into play. And because the larger time frame bias is still bearish, we can still get sell side activity at pretty much every zone on the way up. So we can expect some level of response or reaction at the resistance zones above 43 to 45 half, and even potentially a bigger failure where the market can then start to balance in yet another range. On the downside, if we get a failure at the 43 to 45 half, we can quite easily pull back to the 35 quarter, 37 quarter pre-market support. So that can be used as a potential downside target if you are shorting the initial resistance zone. And from there, once we break 35 quarter, 37 quarter, that would at least begin shifting the short-term control a bit more to the sell side. And from there, we can go down to 29 half to 31 half and fill the gap at 28.50. And at that point, we have to assess how the day is developing in real time. So if we are heading down into that zone and the internals are relatively bullish and there's not really a whole lot of downside momentum, then we could get buyers active at 29.5 to 31.5. But we are going to have to assess the momentum situation in real time and really determine whether it's worthwhile to initiate any longs at the support zones. The pre-market support is certainly very aggressive and not really the ideal spot to look for initiating a fresh long, but 29.5 to 31.5 could possibly provide a setup depending on how strong the market is in real time. Right now, the bigger question that we are looking to answer is whether this retracement back up is just a short-term bounce off of a oversold condition from larger time frame support, and is it going to result in a bigger failure and a bigger move back down again? So if we are going to see a big failure today, then we're going to want to see some downside momentum. So if the market is going to fail at the 43 to 45 half or one of the resistance zones above, then we need to see some clear downside momentum come into the market. And if we can get that downside momentum, then we don't necessarily have to stop at initial support or the gap fill. We could actually go all the way back down into the overnight low, possibly in 17 to 19, and even the previous VPOC. Right now we are trading in a high volatility environment where the ranges are fairly large. So, a failure at a larger time frame resistance can result in a pretty decent sized move once it really gets underway. So heading into the open, neutral bias short term, bigger picture bias continues to be bearish, and for that reason we are going to have to be cautious on long setups, and our focus is going to be more on the short side at the resistance zones. And then in order to really press that trade and get more out of it, we are going to want to see some clear signs of downside momentum. And if there's clearly upside momentum, then of course we have to adapt accordingly. It doesn't mean that we can't short at the resistance zones. It just means we'll have to get good location so that even a 5 to 8 point reaction can give us 2R on that trade. So that is the context heading into the open. Let's see how the market responds to the 43 to 45 half initial resistance zone. That's really going to help set the tone for the day, and we'll take it from there.